YouTube was very nice to me in the last episode, so here is your part 3 video. Goodnight Punpun is a psychological horror series that follows the life of Punpun as he goes through hardships in life. In the last video, Punpun is now in his young adult life, getting drunk and then waking up to a girl named Nanjo in her apartment. We're getting very close to the finale, and with Punpun now going through his adulthood, how would he actually find happiness? Well, let's go ahead and get straight to it. Volume 8 begins with Punpun staring at Nanjo as she sleeps. When Nanjo wakes up, she sees Punpun passed out on her bed, when in reality he's just pretending to sleep. As she showers, Punpun writes a note and quietly leaves, lying that he has plans with a friend. He then wanders around the city talking to himself and feeling guilty for lying. The next day, as he continues roaming aimlessly, Nanjo suddenly appears and calls out to him. They return to her place for tea, and Punpun interprets this as an opportunity to have sex with her. But he panics and keeps talking as if nothing happened. While they eat, Punpun compliments Nanjo, saying that she must have a lot of confidence to be so kind. Nanjo replies that she only has a normal amount of confidence, then points out how stressed out Punpun always seems. She tells him to speak naturally, but Punpun confesses he's afraid that if he does, he'll just hurt the person that he's talking to. Punpun decides to open up, admitting that he lied about having plans and that he also stared at her inappropriately while she was asleep. He even confesses that he jerked it for the first time in 3 years. Nanjo just laughs, saying that she didn't need to hear all that, but is honored to be a part of his character arc. She shifts the conversation to him writing a story for her to draw, but Punpun refuses. He says he needs to settle things with a girl that he used to love. He doesn't know what he'll do, but he feels very compelled to see her again, and that's why he's been wandering through the city, trying to find her. Nanjo suggests that he look her up in the school directory or contact old classmates, but then realizes that Punpun might not truly want to find her, that he's just making excuses and playing the despair game, looking for someone else to share his misery with. She tells him she thinks running into him again was fate, and that she'll help him settle things with this girl. Punpun just tells her to stop it, and then storms off. But Nanjo gives him her number so he can send her his writing. He says he won't be writing back, and then just leaves. The next day, one of the cult members bothers Nanjo at work. She warns him that if he ever pretends to just see her again after work, she'll report him to the police for stalking. After that encounter, she sees Punpun. He gives her some of his writing, but she trashes it, saying that his grammar and dialogue both suck. Punpun says that they shouldn't keep moving forward, but Nanjo tells him to just rewrite it. Nanjo goes to get food, and while she's gone, Kai and his older sister, Miyuki, walks in. Miyuki tells Punpun that Nanjo always dreamed of becoming a manga artist, and even almost getting serialized once. But it fell through. Despite that, Nanjo still holds on to her dream, and once said that she wants to destroy the world with her manga. After they eat, Punpun tells Nanjo that he's going home to rewrite his story. Nanjo knows that Miyuki must have told him something, but she admits that even though his story sucked, she was very happy that he wrote it. We then see Punpun helping Nanjo look for a new apartment. Later, they meet with Shishiro, who offers Punpun a part-time job. During the meeting, Shishiro's daughter enters the room and then starts yelling at her father. She turns her anger towards Punpun and his generation, but Nanjo defends him, leading to both of them getting kicked out. At the train station afterwards, Nanjo tells Punpun that she wasn't defending him, she was defending herself. She then scolds him for not speaking up. Punpun argues back, saying that it's very unfair to expect him to have the same confidence that she does, and tells her to stop looking down on him. Nanjo insists that he's wrong, and then confesses that she has plastic surgery. Her mother remarried, and her stepfather and step-siblings constantly mocked her for being fat or ugly. So, she changed the parts of herself that she didn't like. She explains that her confidence comes from moving forward, and wanting her dreams to come true. Seeing Punpun stay stagnant because of his sadness and anxiety just frustrates her. It's like watching her old self. Nanjo then begins to cry, and at that moment, Punpun's shape changes from his triangle form back to his simple bird form. This symbolizing him releasing his emotional repression, finally confronting reality, and then stepping away from his self-imposed isolation. Punpun then begins to cry himself, and that he'll finish the manga over and over again until he makes her proud. Nanjo looks up to see the rain has stopped, revealing a rainbow in the sky. She declares that she's going to destroy the world, and that if anything happens, she'll count on Punpun. They shake hands, and Punpun notes that her hands feel very familiar, though he can't recall who it reminds him of. Days later, Nanjo reviews Punpun's rewritten story, saying that he's improved on his writing. That night, she gets drunk, and then Punpun takes her home, looking forward to seeing her again the next day. Later, we see Punpun talking with Shishiro at the office. Shishiro mentions Punpun possibly getting a real estate license and also brings up a firework festival happening that night. Punpun decides to call Nanjo and invite her, and she agrees to go. Shishiro suggests Punpun surprise her by picking her up after work. We then cut to Punpun waiting outside Nanjo's workplace. Coincidentally, the cult member from earlier is there too, waiting for her as well. As Nanjo exits, a young man greets her and then carries her bags. The cult member mutters that she should have just told him she had a boyfriend, while Punpun just stands there with an unsettling expression. Punpun goes home, deeply depressed by what he saw, as Nanjo just keeps trying to call him, asking where he is. Moments later, Nanjo bursts into his apartment, demanding to know why he isn't answering his phone. Punpun says that he's sick, but she can tell that he's just lying. He tells her that she should just go with her boyfriend instead, saying that she has a lovely boyfriend. Nanjo then corrects him, saying that it's not her boyfriend, but her ex-husband. He was just there because of the stalker waiting for her outside of work. Nanjo pushes Punpun to leave the apartment with her, and they walk towards the festival. Along the way, Punpun admits that sometimes, when she's nice to him, he sometimes gets the wrong idea, and he's afraid that he might end up falling for her. Nanjo is surprised but tells him that it's okay if he falls in love with her. They go to one of Shishiro's apartments to watch the fireworks. During their conversation, Punpun says that Nanjo reminds him of his mother, someone with a temper and a personality like hers. As the fireworks fade, the two begin getting intimate, with Punpun mentally saying goodbye to all of his old relationships, including Aiko. The next morning, however, they wake up apart. Punpun collapses on the floor, asking Nanjo to just call him a coward. Nanjo pulls him up, saying that he's clearly not over Aiko, and that having sex once won't ruin their working relationship. She then tells him to close his eyes, and then she softly kisses him. Time passes and we see Punpun and Nanjo enjoying each other's company, having snowball fights, celebrating her birthday, and working on their manga together. But one night, as Punpun sleeps, he hears a voice calling out to him. It's a drawing of a human boy with his eyes scratched out, telling Punpun that he's trash for being happy and that his delusion won't last forever. This drawing is implied to represent what Punpun truly looks like, though we only see like half of his face. A year later, Punpun and Nanjo are finishing their manga and are prepping to meet with a publisher to see if it could get serialized. We then cut to Shimizu visiting Seki at his recycling job. They go out for lunch where Seki tells Shimizu that he should make more friends in college. Suddenly, Seki turns around and tells Shimizu to look behind him. We cut back to Punpun and Nanjo waiting for the editor at a train station. Suddenly, a public speaker is knocked aside by a homeless man, revealed to be Pegasus. He announces that he's running for mayor and declares that the world will end in 6 months. The volume ends with Seki and Shimizu, with Shimizu turning around and standing right behind him is Aiko. Volume 9 begins with Seki and Shimizu meeting Aiko. Seki notices that Aiko is wearing a funeral outfit, but she gives them the cold shoulder. They congratulate her on being featured in a magazine, but Aiko tells them that they're mistaking her for someone else and then walks off. We then cut back to Pegasus, who announces that his father, Piroshiki Hoshikawa, passed away recently. Pegasus says that his father believed God existed in many different forms, but that he was wrong. Pegasus himself is God, and he would guide humanity through the end times. Pegasus then collapses dramatically as Nanjo's stalker proclaims that the festival has begun. Seki and Shimizu later find the magazine Aiko was supposedly in, and there's no doubt that it's her, but her smile looks so fake and forced. They see her entering a health center, which turned out to be the location of Pegasus' father's funeral. We then cut to Nanjo and Punpun as they head to the manga publishing house. When they meet with the editor, he praises Nanjo's artwork, but criticizes Punpun's story. The story is about a teenager who moves back to Tokyo to reconnect with an old classmate after several years. Days later, the teen finds out that the classmate ended their own life and begins to move on. The editor calls the story very uninteresting and completely self-absorbed, which perfectly mirrors Punpun's own real-life mentality. However, Nanjo argues back, but the editor says that her message is too unclear for the average reader and then sends them away. Outside, Nanjo is clearly upset, but Punpun reassures her that everything will be fine because she's a true genius. Meanwhile, on TV, Pegasus delivers a public statement outlining his political beliefs. He claims that the world will be destroyed on July 7th as a natural consequence of a falling Daruma. He urges everyone to unite and build a new world together, and for those who refuses, he tells his followers to kill them. Pegasus claims that as a governor, he will save everyone from the Great Despair. ending his speech with his signature phrase, "Good vibrations." We then cut to a bar where Miyuki and Nanjo are arguing. Miyuki accuses Nanjo of being heartless and not caring about the recent earthquake that struck Japan. Nanjo fires back saying that she intends to live for herself and no one else. After that argument, Nanjo stares at her 1,000 yen donation receipt until it's ripped from her hands by the wind. Later, Nanjo visits Punpun, who had been isolating himself and stewing in depression. She tells him it's okay to cry but that he needs to move on and try again. Punpun says that he's only holding her back, but Nanjo insists that all he needs to do is just listen to her. But Punpun replies that he doesn't want to be her pet. So Nanjo responds by saying that if that's how he feels, then they should simply go their separate ways. As she leaves, she realizes that her words seem very useless to everyone around her. We then cut to a flashback of Seki and Shimizu in kindergarten. Seki's mother couldn't pick him up, so Shimizu's mother decides to take him home. However, as the three are crossing the street, Seki lets go of her hand. In the present, Seki is working an electrical job. He poses a question to his coworkers. If you were crossing the street with your friend and their mother, and a car was speeding towards you, and you could only save one person, who would you save? As they try to answer the question, Seki tells them that there's no right answer. It's revealed that as a child, Seki saw a drowsy driver speeding towards them and instinctively saved Shimizu, leaving Shimizu's mother to get hit by the car. Seki covered Shimizu's eyes, telling him that his mother was fine, promising to always protect him and to bear the burdens of reality all for himself. In the present, Shimizu is seen talking to his mother, who appears only as a hand, and a UFO-shaped poop god floating outside his apartment. When he hangs out with Seki, Seki encourages him to get a girlfriend, but Shimizu says that he doesn't want to make his mother feel lonely. This frustrates Seki, who snaps and then tells him that his mother is dead, that it's just him, his sister, and his grandfather now. Their fight is then interrupted by a phone call from Seki's boss, who orders him to go to the health center. Seki and Shimizu arrive there to find Pegasus' brother, asking Seki to dispose of his father's belongings. A few female cult members beg him not to, but he refuses to even listen to them. Suddenly, Pegasus appears, and takes a particular interest in Shimizu. As Pegasus approaches him, his brother recalls one of Pegasus' stunts back in middle school, when Pegasus orchestrated a couple of students to stack 900 desks into a perfect pyramid. When asked why, Pegasus simply said, to save the world. Pegasus then begins talking to Shimizu about the world dying, and tells him that he needs 2 more members to save the world. He then officially recruits Shimizu into their cult. As they prepare to leave, Seki tells Shimizu that they're going home, but Shimizu refuses, telling Seki to go home without him since he thinks Seki finds him annoying. Seki insists that he just didn't mean it, but Shimizu doesn't budge. Seki is then seen sulking in the truck until he's approached by Nanjo's stalker. The two have met before, and in fact, Seki had even thanked them recently. The cult member asks if Seki had considered taking the job. Seki says that he doesn't get involved in shady business, but the man says that all he has to do now is just press a button. Seki replies that he'll think about it. We then see Nanjo, Punpun, and their friends attending a cherry blossom festival. Their friend, Mimura, introduces his girlfriend to the group. When everyone splits up, Shishido talks privately with Nanjo about Punpun's real estate license and their strained relationship. Nanjo assures him that things will return to normal eventually. Shishido decides to buy Punpun and Nanjo a pair of cute cat figures as a gift, but when he turns around, Nanjo had disappeared. As he looks for her, a woman suddenly accuses Shishido of shoplifting. She reaches into his pocket and in a panic, Shishido slaps her to the ground. As he stands there confused, a coworker tackles and restrains him. In the crowd, Pegasus watches. Nanjo rushes in to stop the chaos, but when she checks on Shishido, he's unresponsive. Pegasus follows the woman who made the accusation outside and identifies her as the Dark Spot. 3 weeks later, Shishido is still recovering, suffering from a dislocated shoulder and a spinal cord injury. No one has been charged and his business has been closed. His daughter plans to sell the property. Nanjo vows to find the woman who did it, but Shishido weakly tells her that there's no one to blame and then pleads with her to be kinder to others. Outside, Nanjo admits that she can't be that kind and that she needs someone to blame. Punpun tries to comfort her by holding her hand, but it only just makes her feel even worse. She tells him that his gestures are just making things more painful, and then she demands an apology. Punpun apologizes, but it only frustrates her more, though she eventually does apologize for lashing out. The next day, Shishido's daughter calls Punpun, asking what he plans to do now that his lease is almost up. Punpun remembers the promise that he made 2 years earlier. If nothing had changed by the time his lease expired, he would end his own life. That night, Punpun had a strange dream in which Pegasus appeared in his room, asking for his help to save the world. Punpun refuses. Pegasus calls him a victim of the dark spot and then warns that something is lurking in the corner of his room, which turns out to be Punpun's old god. As Pegasus leaves, Punpun's god greets him, welcoming him back home, back to his old, depressing mindset. We then cut to a Pegasus meeting where Pegasus welcomes his newest and final disciple. With 12 disciples in total, he declares that they will extinguish the dark spot and then guide humanity into a new world, eerily mirroring Jesus in the Last Supper. We then return to Punpun, who narrates his entire day until he gets home and then runs into his neighbor, Taka. Later that night, Punpun hears Taka having sex through the wall and then starts imagining how amazing Taka's life must be. He masturbates to the idea of how kind and perfect Taka is, and from that moment on, Punpun declares that he has died. We see Punpun attending driving school, introducing himself to girls under the name Taka, pretending to be this confident, well-adjusted man. His new appearance reflects this shift, a humanoid body with the head of the bird form that he always had. However, the volume ends with Punpun sitting down, thinking that life is all great until Aiko suddenly sits right next to him. Volume 10 begins with Aiko asking Punpun if he remembers her, to which Punpun replies that he does. Aiko mentions that she's been taking driver's ed classes for a while now, making her his senpai. She suggests that they should hang out and grab something to eat sometime, but for now, she has to go to work. Aiko explains that she's modeling now, saying that her childhood dream is finally coming true. The next day, they run into each other again and decide to go out for lunch. As they catch up on life, Punpun lies about going to college and having a girlfriend for a year and a half. Aiko then begins talking about her own life, talking about her own boyfriend who's older, smarter, with a steady job, who enjoys the outdoors while she prefers going shopping. Hearing this, Punpun feels very disappointed, thinking to himself that she's just an ordinary girl, an ordinary, stupid girl, and concludes that she's not the Aiko that he once knew. Meanwhile, Nanjo meets with her editor, who praises her on her new story, saying that he loves it even though some of the dialogue needs a little bit of work. He tells her that Punpun was ultimately just holding her back, and Nanjo agrees. Punpun later spends the night with a girl that he introduced himself to as Taka. She tells him that she wants to go on one of his soccer games and cheer him on, hoping to also meet some of his friends. Realizing that he's taken his lies way too far, Punpun panics and then he storms out of the apartment. As he walks alone, he takes on a darker form, a black, long-headed figure with 4 eyes. This form can symbolize his anxiety or a darker version of himself that just emerges when he becomes overly concerned with how others perceive him. But it could also represent how alienated he feels in his own body, someone that he no longer recognizes. This also becomes clearer in the next scene when Punpun waits for Aiko in his usual bird form, but then transforms into his alienated form when she arrives. It could either mean he's losing his sense of identity around her or that he's just simply wearing glasses. Depends. The two go out and enjoy their time together, but Punpun can't help lying more and more, reflecting Taka's fabricated personality. They eventually go out drinking as they both get tipsy, and then Aiko says that she's glad that they reunited and that she's really happy to smooth things over after all these years. She admits that she was afraid Punpun might have just taken his own life by now, but Punpun replies that he thought she would have been insane and then ended up living in the gutter. Aiko laughs it off, but Punpun, now in his alienated form, insists that it's no laughing matter. He reaches out and then he holds on to her hand, but Aiko looks very uncomfortable. When Punpun asks if they can stay like this a little longer, Aiko says that they can't. Punpun drags her throughout the city until they end up in a hotel room. He looks at her with resentment, calling her a slut and planning to ruin her life. As he moves his hands down her shorts, Aiko tells him to stop. When he doesn't, she tells him again, but this time, Punpun finally pulls away. She quickly gets dressed, telling him she wishes they had never reunited. As she leaves, Punpun reverts back to his bird form. The next day, he daydreams about moving far away, realizing he's just lost the only thing he had left. He sneaks into Nanjo's apartment building and then breaks in. Finding her new manuscript, he reads it, and he finds it actually really good. He then lies down in her laundry, pressing her underwear to his face. until the door opens and a random man walks in asking who he is. We then cut to Punpun, Nanjo, and Nanjo's ex-husband, Satomi, eating at a diner. Satomi tells Punpun not to get involved with a narcissist like Nanjo. He then also calls Punpun a loser and a useless drag on society. He keeps on antagonizing Punpun until Punpun finally speaks up, saying that he and Satomi are incompatible. Afterward, Nanjo and Punpun walk together. She tells him that her manga is going to be published and that she's pregnant. Punpun is stunned, but Nanjo clarifies that the baby is Satomi's. Punpun asks who she finds more important, him or Satomi. Nanjo replies that Punpun is very important to her, that she'll never see Satomi again, but then asks if he would join her if she got an abortion. Punpun softly says, yes. Days later, Nanjo calls Punpun to tell him that she scheduled the abortion for next week. Punpun decides that after getting his driver's license, that he will move far away. After class, he sees Aiko and then asks if they could talk. It's awkward at first, but then Punpun apologizes to her. In the background, Pegasus can be seen announcing that the world will end in 1 month. Punpun admits that he lied to her about everything: school, his girlfriend, and the fact that he's been looking for her for years. He says that seeing her living such a successful, happy life gives him mixed feelings, but ultimately, he's just grateful to have seen her again. Aiko reminds him that he once promised her that if he ever lied again, she would kill him. However, she forgives him this time, admitting that she lied too. She hugs him and thanks him for always waiting for her, revealing that she has also been waiting for him. They return to Punpun's apartment, where Aiko confesses that she lied about having a boyfriend and also for being a model, though she really is a part of a talent agency but had to quit because she couldn't force her smile. Before leaving, she says that her mom will get angry if she's out for too long. She then kisses Punpun goodbye, and then Punpun bitterly thinks about how selfish she is for renewing her curse on him. We then get a glimpse of Aiko's personal life. She's forced to work a grueling factory job by her mother who's been injured. Her older co-workers constantly make fun of her and they make vulgar comments towards her. When she gets home, she finds her mother with women from Pegasus cult holding a statue of their god. Aiko asks if those statues will help her cure her mother's injuries, saying that she can't keep living like this. Her mother tells the women to leave, and then asks Aiko to step closer. Later, we see Aiko is shown crying in bed with bloody tissues scattered around her. Back with Punpun, he gets a call from Nanjo, who tells him that he doesn't have to come to her abortion if he doesn't want to. Punpun asks what she really wants, but before he can get an answer, Aiko knocks on his door. He answers and immediately notices the bruises on her body. Aiko apologizes for interrupting his call, saying that she just wanted to see him, and then turns to leave. But Punpun grabs her arm, telling her that if she has something to say, she should just say it. His god then echoes the same thought towards him, but all Punpun can think about is wanting to have sex with Aiko. He then yanks her shirt down, revealing her whole chest, and then pulls her inside. They begin to get intimate, with Punpun losing himself in the moment. Afterward, Aiko sits apart from him and asks if he likes her. Punpun replies that he loves her, and she says back that, in that case, she loves him too. Punpun realizes that he can't sink any lower than this. As he lies under the sheets, Aiko tells Punpun how difficult it's been taking care of her mother. Punpun says that he's been thinking about moving away and suggests that they should do it together. When he tells her to inform her mother before they leave, Aiko suddenly sits up and says that they should all go right now. They get into a taxi, and Punpun feels as if he's finally letting go of the day he once left Aiko waiting, believing now that Aiko is his one true soulmate. Meanwhile, Nanjo is left waiting for him alone, crying, mirroring the moment from their childhood when Aiko cried as she was waiting for him. Aiko then grabs Punpun's hand, telling him that he belongs to her now. The volume ends with Punpun proclaiming that he'll never let go of her hand as they walk away together towards their new life. And that's where we'll leave off for Goodnight Punpun. Even though we're still adding characters to like a series that's very close to being finished, I love seeing the new scenes of like Punpun and Nanjo just hanging out together and just him being happy with her. I also just really like the scenes exploring Nanjo's whole personality and her history. I think she's a very interesting character, and I just love the dynamic between her, her best friend, and even her dynamic with Shishido. And again, I just love all of the scenes that she has with Punpun, but obviously that doesn't last very long, and we see his downward spiral again, but it also doesn't help that Aiko is now in the picture. One thing I still don't like is like the Pegasus cult. I do like that it's connecting to like all the other stories happening as well, but it's still not very interesting. The only thing that's interesting is like the fact that the world is about to end, when in reality it just seems like the end of the world will have to do with Punpun and Aiko's new toxic relationship. Overall, I still really love this series. I read this series back in the day, and now just reliving everything is still so shocking to me. Stay tuned for the finale coming out sometime in the next couple of weeks, but I really hope you guys enjoyed this video, and remember to join the Discord, Patreon, and YouTube membership. All of the links will be in the description below. And if you want more horror videos like this one, then why not scroll down and hit that subscribe button. But I'll be seeing you guys in the next video.